Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Kalen with Mongoose PB, and I wanted to do a follow-up video to my recent gear bag review that I did in preparation for my first MagFed only event. And that event actually did take place this last Sunday. It was called Balance of Power at Apocalypse Paintball in Poinette, Wisconsin. It was hosted by SAS Wisconsin, and I'd like to give a special shout out to Juggernaut J and SAS Kodiak for putting on a great MagFed scenario event. It was my first time playing MagFed only, and I used the TiPX pistol here as my only marker, and I was just blown away. I was extremely happy with how it performed. I had been spending a lot of time reading forums and things like that about the performance of the marker, and I was a little bit nervous going into it, I'll be honest, because there were a lot of negative things that people were mentioning about the TiPX that, in my experience, I just found to be untrue. So, or not necessarily untrue, but they didn't match my experience. So I wanted to do a little bit of a review here again and just talk about some of the things that I noticed while playing with the TiPX marker as a solo marker, so that hopefully some of you who have been on the fence about getting one or have been really nervous about using it as a solo marker, to just kind of help you and to kind of reassure you that you can in fact use this very well as a MagFed player if you don't feel like fully committing yourself to MagFed only play. The TiPX works as a great sidearm, but it is also an excellent solo marker in many ways. I just really can't say enough how pleased I was with how well this marker functioned, and it really exceeded my expectations in many, many ways. But I have some notes here, so I kind of want to just stick to a little bit of a script here and try not to ramble too much. The first note here that I wanted to comment on was the range of the marker. A lot of people really focus on questioning how well this marker performs in terms of what the range is, or how well it performs at longer ranges. And some people I've seen commenting saying that it only works well at medium ranges, it's really just a close quarters marker, but that doesn't really match my experience. I've been using just this 8-inch Latco Big Shot Assault barrel. It's a .689 or .690 diameter barrel. I can't remember which, I'd have to look that up. But I was using graffiti paint with it, and I was very pleased with the range, especially out of a shorter barrel. I didn't use the stock barrel, but with this aftermarket barrel I was very pleased with my range. I was getting shots off to around 80 to 100 feet pretty accurately, pretty consistently, without huge dips in markability. I wasn't getting a lot of bounces or anything like that at that range, so I think that it held up very well against other MagFed markers, especially the full-sized rifle versions or carbine versions of these MagFed markers. So that's one thing that I personally took away, was that this thing can function as a medium to long range marker just as well as many of the other MagFed markers that are available on the market. As far as accuracy goes, with the graffiti paint that I was using, I was able to be very accurate with this marker. Your accuracy does depend on your feet per second. It also depends on your paint. I had some paint that was a little bit older, so it was curving just a little bit because some of the paint might have been dimpled or flattened in some areas, but for the most part, the good quality paint was flying very straight and very true. I didn't see any hooking or anything like that that was caused by the marker itself, and I think that has to do with having a good barrel match to the paint itself. So I was pulling off some one-ball shots that I didn't think possible, because I'm not really usually very well known for taking people out with just one shot, and I thought that was just for some of these really talented guys like Akimbo Assassin or Midnight Angel and the Silent Assassin Squad or people like that. So I was very, very happy to be able to do that with this paintball marker. With the in regards to FPS on this thing, I was very pleased to say that with a standard Empire 3000 PSI tank, the aluminum version, I was able to get this chronoed up to 270 or 280 FPS without any modifications to the tank. That was one thing that I was really worried about, because I was reading on forums that people were having problems with HPA and that they weren't able to get their FPS above 230 or 240 with the standard tank. But the Empire tank that I was using actually has an output pressure of around 800 PSI, so it does require a high pressure tank, I feel, but I also didn't have to have it modified to be able to get the output FPS that I desired. The one thing I will mention is that you do want to adjust the pressure release valve when you chrono your TiPX here, and there's also actually a smaller set screw inside of the FPS valve, or the FPS adjustment screw here, and that's what helps you adjust the pressure release valve. You want to do that basically by just inserting a smaller Allen key into that opening, and then you kind of adjust. Once you adjust your FPS, you want to adjust it out so that it bleeds a little bit of air, and then you kind of crank it down until that leaking stops. And that just helps get a more efficient or a more effective regulated pressure to the marker, so that you're getting gains hopefully on your FPS that way. I was using a Ninja remote line for this one, and it was a remote coil versus a straight remote line. I will probably be changing that in the future and try to run just a straight remote line, because one of the problems that I was having was that my remote line was a little bit too short, and if you have a shorter remote line connected to the remote line adapter here, it will tend to loosen this in the marker from game to game. So luckily I brought my wrench with me, and I was able to tighten this up between games, but this will loosen a little bit, which you don't want, because you could have a leak here from the valve to the remote line adapter, or it could rupture or something like that also if it's not sealed in there properly. So make sure that you bring a wrench with you just to make those adjustments from game to game if you do use this as a solo marker or even as a backup. That's an important thing, is to make sure that that is always tightened down properly. As far as the magazines go, I was using 5 of these Zeta mags for every match. I was using 5 Zeta mags, and then I had 3 True Feed mags also on my vest. Didn't care much for the 7-round mags, to be honest with you. The True Feed mags fed well, but I prefer the carry capacity of the Zeta mags. I haven't used 12-round Tippmann mags, so I don't know how well those perform, but between using 5 of these and 3 of the True Feed mags, I was actually having to reload most games, and I'll probably just end up getting a lot more of these Zeta mags to carry onto the field. I feel like 5 was not enough for what I was trying to do yesterday, but I will likely buy at least 5 more of these to carry onto the field with me at any given time. So 10 I feel would be a good number. So that's 200 rounds to carry, and then some way to reload those even between matches. But overall, I was extremely pleased with this marker, and having been a hopper-fed paintball player up to this point, I was extremely pleased with how well this worked. It's not going to match the efficiency or the rate of fire of a high-end or even a mid-range hopper-fed paintball gun, but overall, you can't complain. I can't complain about anything. I didn't have any bad experiences with this pistol at all. I was getting a lot of eliminations. I was playing more aggressively, which is uncharacteristic of me, just because I really wanted to get the most out of this pistol. So it's not that it made me a better player, but it definitely helped me to be more confident in how I could play on the field. And maybe it's just because of the tactical feel of reloading on the field, or I'm not sure what it was, but I was definitely getting a lot more eliminations than I remember getting before this, and maybe that's just because I'm still really amped up from the event. But If you were on the fence about getting this pistol, and if you were nervous about using it as a primary marker, don't be. Definitely get one if you have the means to get one. You know, get lots of magazines for it, get a vest, get all the stuff that I mentioned in my last video. Don't have to get the same stuff that I got, but definitely do it. You know, put yourself out there, try it out. Don't be afraid to be a MagFed player. I haven't tested it out against a field full of people using electronic markers yet, but you know, after the event yesterday, I wouldn't be as hesitant to take this out against a group of people that were using hopper-fed markers at all. I was really happy with how it performed, so I think that that would be challenging but fun. So if you're on the fence about any of that stuff, definitely just bite the bullet and do it. It was worth every penny, and I was extremely happy with it. But for now, that's all from me. I hope to see you guys out on the field, and if you have any questions, just feel free to leave those in the comment section below the video.